Hello amateurs, welcome to another episode of the Amateur Rugby Podcast, here to help soothe your Sunday morning hangover with some wonderful rugby chat about the grassroots of the game. I'm your host Tim, and I've got another fantastic guest for you today. This young man has crossed the Irish Sea to play his rugby in an English rugby hotbed. He now plays at one of England's most historic clubs, has been selected for his county team, and even started his own strength and fitness coaching business. Please welcome Mr. Conor Mullin. Conor, how are you doing?
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. Now, let's start with the famous club bit. You're playing at Otley. Are you aware of the history of the club?
Yeah, I'm actually. I don't think much has changed within the actual clubhouse with all the history, and all the pictures are still all around the walls of everything, all the famous games that I've played, everyone that's been there, everyone that's played there. Yeah, it's pretty cool to say that I play for the club.
Yeah, I played there once, actually, back when I was 21, I think. So I'd imagine maybe it's not changed a whole heap since then either.
No, I'd say probably not, no.
Now, tell me, Conor, how old are you right now?
I'm 23.
So did you play your first senior game for Otley?
I played 3 games of senior rugby in Ireland. But I was lucky enough that I'm pretty sure the average age of the teams we played against was 23 at the time. So my first proper games of playing against adult men was in Otley.
Yeah, and tell me about that, because you're playing against some big, famous, kind of tough northern clubs up there. How are you finding it?
Yeah, I think I've got in the swing of things now this season. So I came in the back end of last season just after Christmas, and I actually started my first game. So I started at number 6. And yeah, I thought, oh yeah, I've been playing university rugby. Like, there's some older lads here. Yeah, nothing can prepare you for the sort of impact that some of these players can have, and just the physicality level at this level.
Yeah, because it's National 2, right? National 2 North?
Yeah, National 2 North.
So are you seeing like a sort of a selection of players that have played at a higher level and are just sort of dropping down towards the end of their careers and stuff like that too?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, we played against Hull at the weekend. And I'm pretty sure their number 12 was in the Tongan squad at the last World Cup. So it's just like players like that you don't expect to play against. Look, I'm glad I played against them, but I'm also glad I didn't know he played for Tonga at the time until after the game. I think I might have had a different mindset going into that, any collisions against him, if I had known that before. But yeah, it's crazy.
That's interesting, because I always used to love knowing who I was playing against, especially if they had some pedigree. I almost like added to the challenge for me.
Yeah, I more just play the games as it is. We do a lot of like pre-match analysis, breaking down what we're going to do, our plans, and what our plan of attack is. But individual wise, I sort of just try to play my own game, and every player is just an opponent to me. Yeah. I'm gonna run just as hard against them.
Fair enough. Now, talk to me then about the level of preparation that you're doing there. How sort of professional do you feel that it is?
Yeah, it's quite a high standard. We're lucky enough that we have like such a good coaching team. So we've got our analysis is done from the weekend. We have sort of the team meeting in the club on a Tuesday. Go through pretty much a breakdown of the game, what went well, what can improve. And then we have our stats and all usually sent out to us on a Monday, so everyone can sort of be prepared for that before going in. And then basically break it down on Tuesday. The leadership group meets before, and basically that's just a group of players sort of classified as senior within the club, and they would basically have their ideas, their own pointers that they can bring into the session, because the coaches believe that players respond better to players sometimes, especially when it's their peers. And yeah, so everyone gets their point across. We have that on a Tuesday, then we go into their session. Tuesday's more of your heavier session, as it would be, because it's the furthest away from a game. And then you've got your Thursday session then, which is more analysis of the team to come, we break down how they play, what we're expecting to see in attack and in defence, and maybe what we should be aiming for in certain areas of the pitch. Previously playing at university level, things like that. Like, yes, you would be like, oh, so this is what our plans are going to do, or this is what we did well, it's what we didn't. Whereas when you play at this level, it's more, right, we're going to change how we play, or if once we get to this point of the pitch, or if we see this shape from the opposition, this is the way we're going to play. And it's so much more like rugby is more of an art than just a sport at this point now. It's like you've got to like keep your eyes up constantly, and if the picture changes in front of you, then your picture of play changes and your game plan has to be ready to switch to and react to whatever's going on.
Wow, that is a huge amount of detail. Now, talk to me, how much kind of, I guess it's a lot of mental preparation you have to do almost? Do you spend a bit of time almost sort of like seeing the game in your mind before the weekend?
Yeah, 100%. Like I like to just take it all in, and I sort of like appreciate every game that I get to play as well. Um, but yeah, there is a lot of mental preparation. Sort of, you don't want to overthink the game as well. On our group chat on a Friday, like I think that's the last time that any rugby's talked, probably early Friday morning. And after that, it's sort of the group chat always goes quiet. It's like it's an unwritten rule sort of thing that everyone's like, right, this is your time now. Everyone's just gonna go quiet, and you do your own thing. Because everyone prepares in a different way. Like I like to just have an easy gym session, a stretch, and that's me knowing that on a Friday night I can rest, don't think about rugby, knowing that when I wake up that next day, like it's game head, it needs to be switched on, and I need to be in that mindset from the moment I wake up.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so week to week, tell me, how much does your game plan sort of change depending on who you're playing or depending on the team that you've selected as well, maybe in a sort of percentage wise, roughly?
Um, I wouldn't say it's majorly changes. We sort of have like a structure that you would follow in general. Like we sort of have like you have your set plays that every team does, but it just depends what way you're gonna attack the team in the sense that like if we had 4 or 5 set piece moves off of a line out or a scrum, depending on what way a team usually performs against other teams, like based on the analysis that we do, we might specify that right, these are the ones that we're gonna bang down on, um, or line out wise as well. Like we got like a big library of line out calls that we nail down every Tuesday. But then based on analysis again, it could be right. This is the way they defend a maul. This is the way they like to set up, depending on where their line out jumpers are. So then we might focus on certain calls, certain lineouts. But at the same time, it's like for us, um, we're lucky enough that we have some tall guys in the squad. But then again, you've got myself that's 6'1", and I'm one of the jumpers in the team. So if I'm in the lineout that's like compared to AJ, who I think he's like 6'7", 6'8", his nickname's Too Tall. Um, so you can sort of like it depends where I'm positioned in the lineup, where he's positioned in the lineup, and it's like depending on where we think we might need to defend more, might change depending on where you put your players.
Yeah.
But percentage wise, it's not major. It's just you got those little tweaks week in, week out.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so in terms of just let's dig into that line out stuff as well, because I love the technicalities. Being tall obviously is an advantage, but it's not the only thing. So you can be like really quick on your feet across the ground. Is that a strength of yours?
Yeah, that's I think that's why I'm always put on the lineouts as well. I'm more speed across the ground, and I love Olympic lifting. So going to the gym and doing Olympic lifts is my thing. So just explosive power. So trying to get someone out of my hands, I always use in a game as like my little bit of a competition within myself, for how high can I throw this person out of my hands. So just yeah, it's just those speed and those movements, and being able to actually move quick across the ground, react if it's going to be a change in calls, or if we're going to cancel a call depending on where they've set up. Um, yeah, it's just it is having to be in that mindset, especially when you start getting fatigued. Like when you get like 60 minutes and 75 minutes into a game, and you've kicked the ball out 5 minutes or 5 meters out from the line. It's like, right, I need to switch on now. You've got physical fatigue, you've got mental fatigue, yet you've still got to know that I've got this call to smash out now. I've got to listen to what's going on, and I've got to react quickly, because it's like those slight movements, those quick movements that could be the difference between getting a tight maul and getting over that line, or else the opposition beating you in the air and those turning it over.
Yeah, exactly right. It's really fine margins with stuff like this, and it's lots of different people doing all their jobs, really up to the top level of sort of perfection. A bit of a broader question here, and it might be a little bit difficult to answer based on the fact that you've played almost all of your adult rugby in England. But have you seen any differences between the way the game's played in England compared to Ireland?
I don't know if it's because of the level difference, but I'd say rugby seems to be faster here. Um, at university level, there was a lot of just. It just seemed like we played a lot of static rugby, and it was very much piston, piston. You're hitting back and forth, and you follow the plan completely to the set piece, and that's just how it is. Uh, Whereas playing for Otley now, it's very much that, yes, we've got our set piece, but we're always told play what's in front of you. Like if you make a break and play, you don't have to wait about. You're moving the ball, you play the rugby that's in front, and the speed, like the transition between attack and defence, it's so much faster. Where in Ireland, it was, I think, club rugby, even at like all Ireland league level, it's just mud. Like you're still playing in fields. Like I think it also just depends on where you are pretty much. But your feet feel heavier. The rugby's heavier. It's just farmers you're coming against, and big one-on-one hits. You might get the odd fast guy, and the leagues are in your backs that can move the ball around. But it is just the actual pitches play such a difference, and play such a vital role in actually how the game comes, like basically the outcome of the game. Um, but yeah, I'd just say rugby in England that just seems to be a lot faster. Um, I've also just had the opportunity to get like better coaching and experience more through the players that I've played with, and like the people that have had experience before as well, playing a higher level. So I just feel like I've developed as a player.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like you enjoy the faster game, the faster pitches. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I like the nitty gritty, but it's nice when your team just gets a flow going and everyone's with each other, and the ball's getting offloaded and someone hits the ground, and you know that you're ready there just in case there's going to be that little pop up.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so that's where we are now. Let's go back to the beginning. Conor, how did you get involved in the game in the first place? And were there any other sports you played as a young man?
Um, I was one of those kids that tried every sport. I like being outside. I just was always outside with my friends. We kick a ball about as it was. And then I tried soccer because, as everyone else did, that was just like the main sport. Soccer and Gaelic football was what we did at home. Um, if you kicked the soccer ball my direction, I would have run the opposite way. I was just afraid of anything like that. Um, they decided to put me in as keeper in a school game once. I think I let in like 7 or 8 goals. I just kept trying to dodge the ball. I was actually very good at determining where the ball was going to go, so I could go the opposite way. Um, but then it wasn't until I got to high school, as it is over here. So I was in I think it's the equivalent to year 7 or year 8 over here in England. There was like trial sort of taster session happening in my school for rugby. It wasn't a big rugby school because it was an all boys Catholic school in Ireland, so it was all about Gaelic sports and playing just very much homegrown sports. So the taster session, I thought I may as well try it out. Um, the guy that took it was called Doc, and he came down from City of Derry. I always remember, and he just said to a few of us, "Oh, I think you should come down to the local city team." So I was like, oh, all right, then I'll come give it a go. And yeah, I started off as a winger, as most rugby players do. They have zero experience. You just get the ball and you're going to run around. Um, I avoided contact probably my first 2 seasons, maybe passing the ball to the other team as well a few times, trying to avoid it. And then I got the under 16s level, and I was like, right, I actually want to start taking this serious. Like I'm really enjoying my sport here. Um, yeah, I think I got asked for trials for Ulster underage, so I think it was under 16s development. Um, and I got through all the trials, and then I didn't get the call back for the last transition. I think it was when they were moving the club to under 17s. But then they actually decided they were taking many players from clubs because I think private schools is where the money was in Ulster. So it makes sense that that's the way they went. But rather than taking it as a sulk, I sort of took it as the opposite direction. I was like, right, you know what? I'm gonna prove a point here. I know I'm a good player, and sort of the way I worked up. Then I've just not looked back since then.
Yeah, this is so interesting. Tell me about the transition from being a winger who was not looking for contact at all to a blindside flanker who obviously having sort of a level of contact is a vital part of your game. What happened there? How did that transition happen?
To be honest, I'm not quite sure. I think it was a few big hits. I think the fear was not wanting to get hurt at first, and it was always just as a kid, like not wanting to get, like trying to avoid it. And then it was maybe just one tackle, someone ran directly at me, and I was like, oh, I've got this guy, and putting them back and actually being, hang on a second, I can do this. And I just feel like there was that switch. Like I became the player in our under 16s team that um, they didn't let me be in defence when we were doing the tackling drills because it was just I was the one that everyone got annoyed at. It was like, oh, here he goes, he's gonna try and tackle again. I just fell in love with tackling and fell in love with rucks and jackling and everything just to do with like that sort of like the breakdown. And I just watched rugby videos and YouTube videos and like all the rugby breakdown and rugby's best jacklers and tacklers and the transition that was there. And I think that's just where I like to see myself in a game as well, just around the ruck and just being a nuisance, maybe slowing the ball down and even in attack as well. I'd much rather clear out a ruck than take the ball in the contact because I know that realistically it's almost more important of a rule sometimes. If you can do an amazing carry, but if you don't have someone there to clear out a ruck, then what was the point in your carry to start with?
Yeah, that's another really interesting thing you've just said there in terms of like you've spoken about the great coaching that you've had at Otley, but then you've just kind of explained you kind of coached yourself as well by watching videos online. Where did that kind of desire come from?
I think just because there's not rugby isn't massive where I'm from. Like I'm from a little city or town called Derry, and there's just not much rugby thereabouts. So I went to 2 Ulster rugby games with my rugby team, just going to support. I thought that's really good, and then we went on YouTube and we watched a few of them, like watching the highlights and stuff of games. Um, and then just in the build up to my games, like on a weekend coming up, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna get myself hyped up here. I'm gonna watch some rugby clips and then you go down the rabbit hole of finding like specific videos, and then you find ones on like um on best jackalers on rugby. So like you have Artie Sevilla would come up, and then obviously you have Josh van der Vlier, um, and Peter O'Mahony, massive one. But it was just you have these players that, and I would be watching how they do things, and I'd be trying to think in my head, like, oh, I'm going to try this on Saturday, and let me see if I can do this now. Oh, that's the way they put their feet. Well, I'm going to see if I can put my feet like that. And it's just little things like that, and after a while, it just goes into the back of your head, and you don't realize that you're doing it, but it's sort of in that subconscious.
Yeah, it becomes muscle memory, doesn't it? If you do sort of the action enough times that when you see a situation, your body just does it. Yeah, super interesting. Now, talk to me about Ulster itself. Like, do you see Did you feel like there's a pathway to play for Ulster? Is that something that you sort of dreamed of doing as a young guy?
Um, I think just when you get the trials, like we got to go up to Ravenhill, and I think everyone was just you were given a number, and I was given the number six. So I had to sit on number six in Ravenhill. Um, and we were sat there, and I was looking around. I was like, you know what, it's quite cool because I know the players that have been in here, and I know the players that have sat here. And I was looking over. I was like, oh, that's where Tommy Boo sat over there. It's just it was quite cool. But I think I could tell week in week out that it just seemed very clicky, and there was the clicks, and I wasn't within the clicks. And um, when I was dropped from the squad, I wasn't that disappointed because I sort of felt like there just wasn't there wasn't going to be a pathway there for me. And as I got older and I moved on the under 17s, I moved on the like under 18s, I could see that the pathway wasn't like there wasn't a pathway, like there was no set structure, and it was quite obvious. Like watching like the only rugby that was on TV of like any sort of schools or anything like that was always the private schools playing in the Ulster Cups, and we don't have any of them in Derry. So I just knew that, right, I don't have an academy. I don't have a private school that I'm going to be able to play rugby every single day. Um, I just don't think the pathway's here. Like, I don't think there's any opportunities for me to progress further in rugby.
That is such a shame, isn't it? Do you think there's anything that they can do to open it up to players that are in your position like that?
I mean, I know that Connacht did, because I almost drove down to Connacht to actually try out for those because they used to put up on their Instagram and on their pages to say that we've got open trials for club rugby. So yes, they've got the private schools, like yes, they've got like that sort of pathway and people that are getting it, but they also had like open trials for anyone to attend, and it just meant that those players that play club rugby and those from smaller clubs that aren't going to get a see, and they're in those sort of rural areas that you're not going to have a scout trying to come to. Because I mean, Ireland's such a small country that you've got four professional clubs, and it's literally just the province of each section. Um, so I mean, that could be something that they sort of branch into, but I'm not sure if the funding's there. To be honest, it's still such a young sport in terms of professionalism of it, um, especially in Ireland as well. Like it just depends where you are, really.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's still very young, and it's yeah, and nobody's got it right. I don't think. Yeah, everybody's still evolving with all of these things. Okay, let's talk about your time over at uni. How was that coming over in the first place, and what degree are you doing?
I I studied sport and exercise science, so I graduated in summer just past. Um, yeah, to be honest, I applied. So when I was applying for university, I didn't apply anywhere at home in Ireland, and I don't think I told my mum that, and I'm not even sure if she knows today. She's watching this. Sorry, mum. Um, yeah, because I had it in my head. There's no opportunities to play rugby, and the reason I need to go somewhere is to play rugby. So I applied for somewhere in Scotland. I applied for Cardiff University, Leeds Beckett, and I think there was another, but I can't remember where. But I went online and searched best rugby universities in England, and it was just Bucks Super Rugby that came up, and I've never heard of it. So I started looking into this and like, oh, okay, right, these are started good teams, and I can apply for these and go for these. Um, yeah, and then so I got an unconditional offer to come to Leeds Beckett. I had a few phone calls with Kerry Wood, who is the head coach at Leeds Beckett. Um, and then yeah, so flew over and I was here for the last week of pre-season. So I got to play a pre-season game with Leeds Beckett before the fresher trials or anything like that. Um, Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I got straight in. I had moved into accommodation 2 days, and I was playing a game for the university, and I was like, right, well, this is a good start. Like, I've got my name in the door. People know who I am. I can sort of work my way up. Um, And then from that, I was invited to the training sessions. But I didn't realize that there was fresher trials. So I asked, "Oh, am I supposed to go to these trials now?" And they're like, "Oh, didn't realize that you were a fresher. Like you've been here now." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's me in." And I'm pretty sure there was like 200 freshers. So I counted myself lucky in the sense that I sort of jumped the ship and I didn't have to go through that whole screening process. Because the reality is, within any sport, it's like a lucky dip. Sometimes you can have so much skill, but there's still an element of luck. And if you're not picked out and they don't see it, then you're not gonna. Um, but yeah, I got lucky there. And first game of the actual league, I captained the third team. And we went away to York, and I remember wearing the kit for the first time. It was all like fresh kit. Like at home, you had your own socks, you had your own shorts, and you get a jersey given to you. My first time coming over here, it was the first time given a full jersey, like socks, shorts, and a jersey to wear. And that alone, before going on the pitch, I was like, "Ah, this is really cool. Like this is the real deal. I'm doing something here." And I remember scoring a try, and I was so happy that I was like a great first game to play. And then next the week after, then I got called straight up to the twos, and I just sort of worked my way up from there. Um, I think either in my first year or second year, end the first year, maybe second year, I made my debut for the ones. Then I played in Swansea away. So we played in Swansea's grounds, which I don't know if it's classified as a stadium, but you've just got this big steep steps the whole way down from the clubhouse, which is like, I don't know, it looks like 200 meters away from the actual pitch when you're coming out of the changing rooms. But then you've got this one stand, and that was the first time I've had over 200, 300 people shouting abuse at me uh, through microphones and megaphones and everything else. So this stand full, and you wouldn't get that support at home. And I think university, we don't have university rugby per se, so having this university culture of people just roaring abuse at me for absolutely no reason was crazy. And I was just looking around like, wow, this is quite cool. Um, but yeah, I think that was my first time getting sort of a sight at the support and like sort of how big rugby is over here. Um, just seeing like the culture that they have, like as far as I'm aware, we don't have that same sort of like backing and culture. I don't know if it's the university side, but just having so many people supporting a rugby game, um, even when it's not like professional level, it's quite cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's another really famous old ground that you played at down there in Swansea, and it's so wide open because it's cricket ground as well.
Yeah.
So that's so sort of yeah, spacious, shall we say? In terms of the culture, shall we say, of university rugby, how have you enjoyed that? Have you enjoyed it? Because some people do, some people don't. And what's it been like at Leeds Beckett for that?
Well, Leeds Beckett's actually it's been quite what's the word like um I don't know the word I'm trying to look for. It's just been like accompanying in the sense that like I don't drink, so I don't drink alcohol. I never have. It's just never appealed to me. Um, so they never held that against me. Like I would still go on the nights out with the lads and with everyone. Like you have a thing at Leeds Beckett where it's sort of like a ritual that doesn't matter what if you play for the first team, second team, right down to the sixths or the development squad. After a game, everyone wore a shirt, tie, navy trousers, and a pair of brown shoes. And if every team played in the same day, you would know it because Leeds turned purple that day with just all the rugby out. Um, but it was just good because we had like social events almost every week, and if you didn't have a social event, everyone would meet up at the pub. And it was sort of just everyone got behind each other. It didn't really matter what level of team you played at. It was you played for Leeds Beckett. We're all wearing the same thing. You don't have something that says you played for the first on. You don't have something on that says you played for the sixth. You've just got a tie on that says that you play for Leeds Beckett Rugby, and it was just like you're a club rather than you're a team. Like it was just it had a good culture about it. I feel like that sort of dropped off a bit in my last year. I'm not sure if it's because there were so many senior lads that left the year before, and they didn't have the same environment afterwards. Um, but yeah, it had that nice environment where like everyone was together, and any social events you could expect to have at least 200 people there at.
That's remarkable. And you sort of mentioned about disliking the cliquey stuff over in Ulster. So it sounds like this is the absolute opposite of that, where literally everybody's together. I think that's really what all clubs should strive for. But I've certainly been in environments where that's not been the case. So what other things did Leeds Beckett do that kind of sort of engendered that togetherness?
Well, we all sort of trained together as well. Like in preseason, you had preseason was split into like you sort of had your first and seconds, thirds and fourths, and then it worked down, which I actually liked because it meant that if you played ones or twos, like you're not playing for Buck Super Rugby or you're not playing, um, I think it was England North Premier, like you're just like that's the squad. And if you're playing threes and fours, it doesn't matter if you're a league or two above the other team that's playing, like that's a squad. Like it sort of made everyone train together so that there was those transitions, and it made sense because if you get an injury in university level, it's not like you've got people just lying about that's not playing for a lower team. Like you don't want to just be sitting constantly on a bench. You're going to be playing for a lower team, so having that transition and having that like joint collective of training sessions just means that the transition through the club was so easy. Another good thing we had as well was actually from the first down to the sixth, you learned the same calls, you learned the same plays, you learned the same lineouts. The backs had the same moves. It was if you moved up, yes, it might have been faster, depending on how well people knew them and how well people could move across the floor. But it was the same calls and it was the same movements. So you never really felt out of place. And if you did get a call up and you did have to play for a team, or you had to drop down a team to try and help out a team that was maybe struggling that week for players, like it wasn't majorly different because you were technically one squad. You were one club that just followed the same things.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there, Conor. I think a lot of clubs struggle with this. So, like, just some of those little pointers there that you've done well at Leeds, I think will be really helpful for people. And you went on in your final year to captain the club as well. So, what was that like?
Yeah, so I got the call. I got the call from I think it was Chris, who was one of the first team coaches, and he just called me and asked if I'd be open to being club captain. So not just a team captain. I ended up captaining the club, which was I think we had over 200 lads at the time, and I remember getting the like when he told me that I remember going home and saying to my dad, I was like, oh, I've been asked to be club captain, and he was like, oh, that's crazy, that's mental, that you've done that, you've worked your way up, and I think like it was like halfway into the season, maybe earlier. We got like you get your club photos. So within the university, every like sports team gets their club photos, and I got my first year one and I got my last year one, and I didn't get one my second year. I was in uni that day, um, but I've just got them now. In the first one, I'm just one of the guys that's sitting on maybe the third row back or second row back standing. And in this one now, I'm sat right at the front and it says my name at the bottom, Conor Mullin, club captain. And it was just, I remember looking, I was like, like I said I was going to come over here and work my way up teams and do something and make sure people know my name. And I was like, I think I've done this at university. This is what I wanted to do. And I think I was just like the nice cherry on the top from, yes, I had my rugby and yes, I was playing my rugby and enjoying it and stuff, but just being able to have that then was nice. Just a title.
Yeah, it must be really sort of a proud moment for you and your dad, I'm sure, and the rest of your family. But not only that, you've gone on and achieved being selected for Yorkshire as well, which is a fantastic achievement. It was again another really historic county in the English game. So tell me about your county championship experience.
Yeah, so I played for Yorkshire under 20s, and I think that was my second year of uni, I believe, maybe first year of uni. Um, and it was actually one of my current Otley coaches, Justin Hall, that told me that I could go for it. I didn't think I could because my message to him was, I'm not English. Like, am I able to go for this? He said, yeah, it shouldn't be an issue. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a go. And I remember the first training session, the first trial, it was the heaviest snow I had seen since coming to university. Ice weather. I was like, oh, surely this session's not going to be on. We were in a field somewhere random in Yorkshire, as it is, just some field, didn't look like a proper pitch, rusty rugby poles, couldn't see any lines, couldn't see anything. And there's a load of lads there, and they go, right, so for any forwards come this way, right, and then we're going to do scrums. And I just looked and I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to keep their studs on the floor here, but it was just, you could just see steam on people's heads, and we hadn't even trained yet. I thought it's so cool. Um, and then they decided after scrums, we're going to do contact and we're going to see how people can tackle. And you could just see people's legs getting cut with like the ice. And I was like, this is brutal. And after the session, I was like, right, I don't know if I've done enough here to get called up to another session. And then the squad gets announced for the next trial and who's been selected. And my name was there. I was like, oh, okay, right, let's see. And same again, week or two after, we have another session, another trial, um, and they just said, oh, we're gonna do a game. And they're right. Um, I haven't played much with these lads. I don't know how people play, but I know I can tackle, and that's just what I'll do. Anything that comes in front of me now, I'm just gonna hit it, and that's what I did. Didn't care what size or what speed or what way they were going. I just made sure I didn't miss a tackle. And I came out of that session. I was like, right, I've been selected. And I think it's the cockiest that I've ever been coming out of something like that. And I just knew I was like, if I don't get selected from a tackle and it just my contact, then I don't know what else I could have done here. So the squad comes out for the squad, the training squad for the first game. Um, and my name was there, and I was like, right, that's good. Um, and then I think we had 4 or 5 games, and we won every game besides the semi-final when we played the County of London down in London. But I was always on the bench, and I was always working, asking what can I do. I asked on the game before London just to say like what can I do if I need to get on, and I was told then like you're not getting put on the bench because someone's better than you. You're getting put on the bench because we know that you're an impact player and we need that coming off. And I sort of just thought, I was like, right, okay, that I should have asked earlier because I had been beating myself up on the point that I'm like, I don't understand. Because it was the same myself and the same another lad that was the same two people coming off the bench for the forwards. Um, and it was literally we were being used just when everyone else is tired. I've got a bit of speed and I've got a bit of footwork and I'm able to just bring on fresh legs when the other team's not expecting it. Um, but yeah, it was nice to like to me that was my first time sort of having like an academy sort of environment because Ulster never really had that opportunity and stuff, and I'd never travelled and stayed places with teams. Um, Whereas I got to travel in to London with Yorkshire, and we had a big coach, and we stayed overnight, and we got our feeds and stuff like that. And like that sort of experience, like that's one that I'll always remember, just because to me, I know some of the lads there, like we had lads on the team that had played for Newcastle Falcons and things, but to me that was my first like sort of like professional environment of rugby and understanding and like right there, this is quite cool. And I just remember like I got my Yorkshire tie presented to me, and I immediately posted it back to Ireland so I didn't lose it. And I was like, right, that's going back to Ireland. That's going on the wall, and I'll add that with my Derry tie. But yeah, that experience was crazy. I I know it sounds like to some people they might think, oh well, it's just county rugby, but to me we didn't have county rugby at home. So to me, that was like Yorkshire's almost like Ulster, and it was a good level of rugby.
For sure. And yeah, I totally get it about that whole going away with a team for the first time. Like it's a big thing. And like it's just so exciting, isn't it? So like you shared that beautifully there. Now, in terms of your rugby itself, like the standard that you're playing, do you feel like playing for Yorkshire like improved you as a player?
Yeah, definitely. So like I said before, like when I played for Leeds Beckett, like that first year, we didn't have much. There wasn't much offloading of the ball or trying to like throw the ball about, and I think it might have been fear as well because university rugby is very brutal. Like you have one bad performance, there's a chance you're just kicked out of the team for the next week. Or if someone has a good performance in a lower team, even if you had a decent performance, even though there could be 2 or 3 leagues difference, because they've played better than you in the league below or the team below, there's a chance they're going to take your spot. So it was almost like there was an element of fear within people. And it was like, I don't want to step out of lines and I'm just going to do exactly what we've been told to do. And it was very robotic and it was very like, do the structure. That's it. We're just following structure. Whereas I remember that first game for Yorkshire, it was the ball just kept moving. It didn't matter like who you were, if you were a forward or you were a back or who was there. Like if you're at a ruck and the nine's not there, pass that ball. Like someone's set up right, you're gonna get that ball, pass it. But to me, that was alien because it was like, oh, that's not what I've been told at uni. I've been told don't touch that ball and get over. And it was just like offload after offload, like someone's hitting the ground, that ball's gonna get popped up and making sure you're on those underlines. And it was learning like fluent rugby and learning that rugby isn't black and white and it's not something that can be controlled by just straight lines. Like it's a very diagonal sport as well, and it has those like elements of surprise always. You just have to be expecting like the unexpected. Um, and it was just I could bring that stuff then into my rugby then when I was playing a bit of university. Um, and it was just those little skills that I was able to take on and take on with my career now.
Yeah. So how how long did it take you to kind of develop that? Because obviously playing very sort of closed at university to then being a very open style, did you sort of transition to that quite quickly and easily, or was it hard work for you?
Um, I feel like the first game I didn't. It took me a while just to even try and keep up with the way they were doing it. Because I was kept trying to find my pod of three. I was like, right, where's my pod of three? And then I started realizing that there was no set pod. It was just whoever you can get now. Grab the closest 2 players to you because that's who's going to throw you through the man that's going to be in front of you. Um, so it took me a while in the first game, but then I was sort of prepared for the second game, and I understood it then. And so I was able to like I think after the second game or probably for the second game I had that mindset of understanding what to expect.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, let's talk about some strength and fitness stuff. And you mentioned Olympic lifting earlier. How did that become a passion? How did you get into that in the first place?
Um, well, weightlifting in general and just going to the gym. I was never the big lad. Like I was always just the small lad. And also like not having the opportunity to go into a rugby academy. Like I was never exposed to strength and conditioning. I was never exposed to that sort of environment. Um, but I just knew if you lift weights, I'm gonna put on muscle and I need to get bigger for my sport. So that's how I started. I did all the wrong things that every rugby player does when they're training themselves. And I just trained my biceps and I just did squats and I just did a bench press and I got to under 18s rugby and I snapped my hamstring because I had never trained hamstrings and I had that complete imbalance of muscles, but I didn't understand that. I just thought I've got to do these movements, squat, bench, and I'm gonna look big, and that's gonna be good enough for rugby. Uh, and then I, I obviously I was lucky enough. It was only a grade 2 hamstring tear, so there wasn't a complete snap. So the physio was able to, I was able to go through physio treatment rather than operation. So that I was lucky enough with that. Um, but then because of that, it was sort of made me look into more of understanding the fitness and understanding what's happened and understanding how can I stop this from happening again. And I don't want to go through them sort of same issues and not be able to play rugby again. So I just started learning, watching as many videos again online. Like that's the only way of learning pretty much at the time. Like I didn't have the opportunity to be exposed to strength and conditioning. Um, so I just taught myself, researching, searching what other people were doing. I found an article from South Africa Rugby and how they trained their players and what their preseason was set up like. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna try and structure mine like this and understand it now. Um, and then I decided that I was gonna go on to do my personal training diploma. So I did that when I was 18. And just sort of, it wasn't the most in-depth thing, but it just gave me that next level of understanding of like the muscles in the body and things I can sort of develop. Uh, but I realized that it wasn't going to help me with rugby. So then I just had to keep doing my own research and keep trial and error. Pretty much like I used to train my friends as well, and I'd find out what was working for them, what was working for me. Um, and then I got a flight over to see my friends in Liverpool, and this was a few months into training, like actually been understanding how to schedule plans for myself and like build like an actual strength and conditioning sort of schedule and something to follow. I remember going over and seeing them, and they just looked at me and I was like, I don't know what you've done, but you're massive. I was like, what?
Yes.
Really? I was like, I don't know if they're joking with me because I've been in the gym constantly, um, and they're like, no, like you're what are you doing? What like are you taking something? And when I look back now, I was probably tiny. I was probably only like 80 kilos or 85 kilos, but to all my friends that we all went through the same thing of not having any opportunities to like understand how to get bigger or how to be sport specific and play rugby. Um, like to them, I seemed bigger, and I was like, right, I'm actually understanding what I can do, and I'm starting to understand the science behind things, and I started getting a real interest in that, and that sort of like directed my study and why I wanted to go into sport and exercise science. I was like, right, I can sort of see where there's a gap in the field, like because it is the gap that I always keep referring to is not enough players get exposed to an academy at a young age. So not enough players are going to be exposed to strength and conditioning and the fundamentals of strength and conditioning. If you bring your kid to a personal trainer, they're going to train your kid, your 15-year-old kid, the exact same way they're going to train a 30-year-old office worker. Whereas when you're 15 and you're 14, you're at the perfect age to learn the fundamentals of how your body should move and how you can develop and how you can like actually like produce explosive power and how you can build your strength and build your muscle mass. And there's just not enough education for the general rugby player that's out there. So that's sort of the way I try to bring down my business and I wanted to sort of sculpture my education. So going into my degree at sport and exercise science, I always had the mindset of I'm going to be able to bring this back now and bring this to those that aren't in academies and bring it back to those that haven't had the opportunities that were in the same like the same shoes as I've been in, so that I can give them the better opportunities and let them get exposed to elite level strength and conditioning that they would get exposed to at an academy level.
Yeah, that's really important because there's a good chance if they don't get that, as you say, at that fundamental sort of age range, 14 through 16 or whatever, that if they do get a chance later on, they might not have the strength and the size to even be able to show what they maybe have got the talent for in a rugby environment. So that sounds really important. I dug into your social media a little bit and one post stood out for me, and I'm going to paraphrase, so I might not get it exactly right, but it was something like training abs is not the same as training your core. And it stood out to me because in it, I think it's you doing the exercise. It could be, I'm not sure, but it's an overhead squat that's happening. And I think discovering the overhead squat when I did at about the age of 30 was one of the most sort of transformational things that I did in the gym. Is it one of your favorite exercises? And if it is, tell me why and all of that.
Yeah, so that I know which video you're referring to because it was my first time getting a narrow grip 100 kg overhead squat. So that was as narrow grip as I would go. I know that if I'm when I'm training it because I used to coach in a CrossFit gym, and if I was coaching overhead squat, it's always about having like that wide grip and sort of being able to the wider stance makes you more stable and you can get into a better position. But my idea was I'm going to test my core even more, the more narrow I can get my grip. But yeah, because a regular squat is great because if you understand the brace and understand how to like control your sort of trunk muscles, you're going to be working all of your core. So your core is not just including that six pack that you are aiming for at the age of 14 when you don't understand what you need for your sport. It's including like your back and it's including like all of your front, all of your back, all of your sides, all of your legs, like everything is involved in the movement. And then just moving that bar away from your body and having it further away from your center of mass, like it just it forces you to have to be more stable and use muscles that you probably haven't used before. Like even if you put 20 kg on a bar, so you've got a 40 kg bar and you try and put that overhead, 100% guarantee that you're going to struggle if you've never done it before because it's movements that your body aren't used to, and that's the thing with I think that's the thing with like rugby as a sport. Like it isn't linear, and that's the thing. Like you're not just bench pressing, you're not going to be moving weight forward and back. Like you need to be able to move it in different directions and take impacts from different directions, and there is a stability factor. Like you're playing an uneven surface and being able to move your weight from one foot to the other, and that's the thing with an overhead squat as well. It's the same thing. Like you need to be able to stabilize yourself and understand your body and how like what's being activated at the time.
Yeah, I mean, you say 20 kilos on the bar. When I first discovered that exercise, I had to start with just the bar on its own because like I had shoulder flexibility issues and all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah.
just doing it with the bar was hard enough. With that multi-directional stuff that you're talking about, what other kind of things would you build into a program that would support that?
So you've got plyometric movements is a major one as well, which again, the basic plyometrics that people would give, and there's completely nothing wrong with them because it's things you need to build, but like drop jumps and like box jumps or explosive step ups, so just powering through, like again, they're all just linear movements. I like to incorporate things like a drop and a step the direction. So like a drop and then you're going straight into like a broad jump. So a lateral broad jump, jumping in the opposite direction. And when I'm working with people as well, I do like to have like sort of trigger factors in. So making them make sure that they're using cognitive function at the same time. So as they're dropping, that's when I'm going to tell them what way they've got to go. So they don't know which way to jump. So it's the drop and then right, and they've got to be able to move that factor and change direction. Um, but yeah, it's just being able to move in different ways. You've got your Olympic lifts as well. So you've got your snatch, you've got your cleans, your power cleans, hang cleans, your jerk press, all of these movements that require you to move heavy weight, and it's not going to be a straight bar form. Like if you follow the bar from the side, there's a lot of apps to do so. It's not a straight line. It has to slightly move away from your body. You need to be able to control that weight and be able to move it through a pattern that's going to effectively get it from A to B. But it isn't an A to B because it's not like a squat, it's like an ABC. And it is that from the ground to the chest and then able to get it over your head.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's so much to strength and conditioning. I get so passionate about it and get so excited talking about it. Because I love doing my research on it, and I never like to just be complacent with what I know. I like to challenge myself, and I'll always try new things as well in my own training. Um, I think recently I've been doing overhead press, but with kettlebells on bands, and the bands are connected to the barbell, so that they're just very unstable, and it's just been forcing me to like control the bar a lot more and stabilize it rather than bouncing off my chest. because I'm trying to figure out how can I untrain ego lifters. So those younger lads that are starting to train with me that say they can bench or they can overhead press 50 kilos, and then I watch them do it, and there's a lot of momentum going on. It's a lot of bouncing straight, and there's no control. Whereas when you've got to change where the weight's distributed, they have to control it a lot more, and their brain starts thinking, and they have to understand sort of the connection and what's being worked and how they're going to sort of stabilize the bar.
You sound like
But
some kind of scientist, Conor.
yeah, it seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with this, though, it's an area that's always evolving, isn't it? Everybody's always learning new things and new techniques and finding different things that work. So it sounds like people like you are going to be the people that make the next breakthrough.
I mean, I'd love to be. It's something I'm really interested, I'm really passionate about. Like I've went back to university now. I'm studying physiotherapy, and it's because again I'm looking to like better myself, better my understanding, and how I can help others, and maybe even incorporate these into my business in the sense that what's can I understand more about the body and how it works and how it moves in the neurological aspects of things, and how I can sort of help others to understand these as well, break it down into sort of like layman's terms, so just terms that everyone can understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a bit more about the business. Who are you helping at the moment, and what are your desires, plans, hopes for the future?
So yeah, at the moment, I'm I coach on. I have an online side of the business, and I've got an in-person side of the business. So online at the moment, it's mainly focused around strength and conditioning aspects for athletes, but athletes of all backgrounds. I'm lucky enough now that I've sort of experienced enough sports that I can have an understanding. And if I don't understand someone's sport that I have a request for, I do my research and I make sure that I understand it. If I don't think that I am educated enough, I won't take them on as a client. Um, so I focus on strength and conditioning. As I've said before, it's all about knowledge. It's all about explaining, understanding, and educating people on how their body should move, what's most important for their sport, and how I can sort of facilitate them in taking their sport to the next level. Um, Outside of the sports and just I've got some general population as well, so just office workers, people that sort of want to just better themselves. Because again, the world doesn't move in a straight A to B pathways. Like people need to understand how their body works. They need to understand why they have pain, and they've got to understand how you sort of they can improve themselves and just bring their life to the next level rather than a sport. Like I do think that movement is the most important thing and the thing that we all can't take for granted. Um, so I feel like we should all be moving our bodies a lot more than we do already. And that's what I've been trying to do with my online side of things as well. It's educating people on the importance of it. Um, on or in person wise, I've got a few clients that I would travel to. Uh, so some rugby players, some boxers, some just general athletes, some high rocks athletes at the moment. And again, it's just trying more sport specific things for them that I can sort of give them that extra push. A lot of people do like the in-person side of things because when you've got an Irish accent shouting in your ear, it doesn't matter what weight you've got on that bar, you're gonna get the bar up because you don't want to know what the RL says. It, um, and then I work in Bannatyne in Cookridge Hall in Leeds as well, and I offer personal training in there. So again, that's just regular personal training. Some people might want strength and conditioning, but I offer rehabilitation, musculoskeletal, and regular personal training for the general population. Just again, my aim is to help as many people as possible, and I'm not going to turn someone away just because they don't play a sport. If I have the skills and I have the knowledge to help someone, then I'm not going to turn them away.
And it sounds to me like that's almost a challenge that you enjoy as well, that if you can add another string to your bow, if you can answer more understanding from a different sport or a different discipline, that can only be good for you as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. My first High Rocks athlete that joined on with me, they're like, "Do you know much about High Rocks?" And before I replied to them, I waited a week and I got my group certified instructor in High Rocks certificate. And then I got back to them and said, yes, I do know a bit about High Rocks. I can take you on now. And I even explained it to them, and they were like, "That's the fact you just went to do that. It just shows that like the level that your coaching is going to be at." I think they appreciated the fact that I did my research like that.
Well, Conor, that is a brilliant story, and I think that really probably sums you up a little bit, doesn't it? Like you just get out there and do the work and then make things happen. So that's fabulous stuff.
Yeah, and I think we're all given sort of the same opportunities, and it's up to us sort of whether we take them or if we just walk on and decide to leave them behind.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's move on to the stash section of the show, which, judging by some of the things you said in this podcast already, I'm assuming you're going to quite enjoy this section. So what is your favourite kit of all time? So this can be any team from any era.
It is the Puma Ireland jersey, the white away kit, and when I see it, I just think of Brian O'Driscoll.
Nice, very specific. I love it when people link it to a player as well, because that's often the case, isn't it? Like it's an iconic thing because of a certain player.
Yeah, it's one of them. You see the jersey, and who do you relate to that?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, what about awful kits? Any kits you particularly dislike at the moment?
I hate the Super Rugby superhero ones. It's just when you see a Spider-Man kit like that, I'm like, nah, it's not for me. It's not something I wanna see when I'm trying to watch a rugby game.
It's very strange, isn't it? It's quite disorientating, I find. And there's a bit of me that goes, I think that's quite cool, but I'm not sure. Yeah. So interesting one. What about stash that you've received? So this could be something that you've earned as a player, or something that somebody gifted to you, something like that.
I think it's my first stash drop for Otley. That was quite cool. Just I got my first pair of tracksuit bottoms and I got my first polo shirt and hoodie last season. And even though it's not the same people that we use this season, so we're Canterbury now, I've still got it in my wardrobe and I'll still wear it because it's just like that was my first ever semi-professional team stash drop.
Yeah, all these cool colours as well, isn't it? Black and white. I think it looks quite classy.
Yeah, it is. It's just especially our new kit now. It's just plain black and white, and I feel like I'm wearing the Barbarians shirt.
For sure. Okay, mate, we'll bring this to an end. I've really enjoyed this, but before we go, is there any sort of closing thoughts you want to share or tell people how they can get hold of you and your business?
Well, I just want to make sure that everyone understands. It doesn't matter where you're starting off in your rugby career. I started off quite late. There's opportunities for you. You just have to push yourself and put yourself out of your comfort zones. I moved to England to try and better myself and become a better rugby player because the opportunities weren't there when I was at home. And I'm definitely on the right track of reaching my full potential. And that's my aim with my strength and conditioning business as well. I want to be able to help as many athletes as possible that haven't been given them opportunities at a younger age to reach an academy, and I want to give them elite level strength and conditioning. So yeah, you can catch me on my Instagram, Mullin Strength and Fitness, or my website, mullinstrengthandfitness.com.
Absolutely fantastic stuff, mate. And people listening at home, I'll link all of that down below in the show notes, which you can find in one place at amateurrugbypodcast.com. Conor, just leaves me to say thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Tim. I've enjoyed it.
Very welcome. Alrighty, there he goes. Oh, honestly, what an inspiration from the lad who didn't like tackling on the wing to a banging back rower and building a business just from being so interested in the human form and how it physically works. Wonderful stuff. Brilliant. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, you can do all the social media stuff if you like, the sharing, the liking, the commenting, the subscribe, all that stuff. But what I'd really like is if you mention it to someone in person the next time you're down your local rugby club. So until then, get out and play.